Welcome to Season 3 of the Blister and Muck podcast. I'm Jenny Mason, your host and the creator of the Blister and Muck series. "20 episodes are all that remain in this sleuthing saga. All I can say is, that's not odd. With just 20 episodes remaining, it's now a countdown to see who can solve this unsolvable mystery. Is Dr. Van Sangfreud one person playing two parts? Or did the real Dr. Van Sangfreud die years ago, leaving an opportunity for an imposter to assume his identity? Besides that riddle, you listeners have plenty of other weighty mysteries on your plate. For instance, have you figured out whether altruism really exists? Have you uncovered the reason people mistake scientists for magicians? And what about those humbug hoaxers? Anybody cracked the case on how to deal with them? When you do, be sure to visit blisterandmuck.com and use the contact form to share your answers. In the meantime, this season arrives cram-jammed with many more unsolvable mysteries, like, how many bath time songs can one circus elephant sing? What's the likelihood that a sarcastic panther can cause a rat to destroy his home? Or, how long can one little spider survive when pitted against a room full of chemically mutated monster dogs? And we haven't even gotten to the more pressing questions surrounding Blister's less than admirable recent behaviors. For instance, is he ever going to give Muck that telegram from Europe? The one that arrived from his family, which summons Muck to resettle with them overseas. From the moment Blister intercepted that message, he has imagined himself and Blackrust pitted against the Furbanks family and Europe, like two competing sports teams. Whenever Muck is happy, Blister imagines his score increases. When Muck is displeased, Europe gains the lead. In Blister's head, the side with the final winning score will be the one that Muck chooses. And if you're thinking Blister wants Muck to stay because they are friends, Blister would be the first to say you are dead wrong. Blister never has and never needs friends. He simply doesn't want Muck to give up his freedom. He has, after all, grown into a powerful and influential operative, something he could never have done were it not for Blister's teaching him the one-for-one and none-for-all survival skills. Speaking of opeRATives, you'll recall that when we last gathered, Ooze had finally regained her senses after having been trapped and addled in Dr. Van Sangfreud's secret laboratory. Horchata had also emerged from her dazed condition. Neither could remember enough details to reveal the whereabouts of the doctor's sinister headquarters. As a result, Madame Petruska decided the best possible way to find the doctor and end his evil schemes once and for all would be to hitch a ride on the delivery trucks transporting trapped animals. Two bad, vicious cats guard the electric traps and repeatedly thwart the opeRATives' efforts. Today, we pick up the action just in time to see Blister and some opeRATives attempting to stow away on a delivery truck. I'll warn you now, this episode is loaded with action. And you have to suppose that when dealing with automobiles, accidents will happen. But it's like they always say, no guts, no lorry. I'm sure you're wishing I had better puns, but I'm afraid these'll have to do. My producers are warning me to quit while I'm ahead. If only they knew that was easier said than done. Episode 1, The Delivery Truck. Somebody get that truck! Pus squalled as he dove out of the way of a pouncing cat. Brown clouds of exhaust puffed out of the motor truck's tailpipe as it puttered away from the curb. It slotted into the street traffic between horse-drawn carriages and wagons. The opeRATives and cats tussled in the alley, upsetting rubbish bins, crates, and boxes. Anyone clipping by on the sidewalk paid no attention. Cats and rats always tussled in alleys. Blister fought with graceful ease. He continued to feel the warm jam feeling which arose when Muck went to the bell tower to retrieve a gift for Blister. Although Muck wound up wrestling with Rip, he had intended to give Blister something meaningful, something symbolic. Symbolic of what? Well, as far as Blister was concerned, the gift would have represented Muck's loyalty to Blister and the one-for-one and none-for-all lifestyle. What else could such a gesture possibly mean? Fueled by that devotional display, Blister picked up a trash bin lid and swatted it like a tennis racket at the cat rocketing towards him. Flank! He swung for the next one. Pork! Nearby, the cat he called Slackjaw trotted away, carrying Meyer by the tail. Kitty, 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 Blister trilled. At the same time, he flung the lid like an Olympian slinging a discus. Slackjaw swiveled his ears, turned around, and pwoof! The spinning lid struck Slackjaw between his crossed eyes. He fell in a senseless heap. Meyer scrambled away. Finding no other cats to battle, Blister shot after the truck, currently stopped at an intersection, waiting for the traffic cop to wave it through. Pus quickly caught up with Blister. Together they sprang for the undercarriage of the vehicle. They clamped all four limbs around any available bit of bent metal. Tabby burst out of the alley and rocketed toward the truck. The traffic cop chirped his whistle and freed the flow of traffic. The truck's engine wheezed and sputtered. The tailpipe burped a big snarl of smoke in Tabby's face. The truck rolled along the avenue, swiftly leaving Tabby behind. "We did it!" Pus cheered. "Now we'll see where the real action happens." The truck trundled in the direction of the dim thumb. Along the way, it segued into a residential neighborhood where the houses abutted the street without yards or fences. The truck parked with the engine idling. Peeking around the fender well, Blister saw several cats sunning themselves on a stone stairway. Nearby, an impressive imprisoner trap shook and rattled as the stray hound caught inside fought to break the mesh open. Both the driver and the passenger got out to collect the trap. The passenger dribbled conversational chatter as she opened the back cargo doors.
Yes, the meeting promises to be grand. It has taken all my spare time to coordinate. You simply cannot imagine how difficult it is to secure an abandoned textile factory and prepare it for a rally.
Indeed, Mrs. Chettingley,
the driver sympathized in a weary tone.
It sounds like quite an ordeal.
Mrs. Chettingley. The name rippled to the shore of Blister's memory. Wasn't that the name of the chip-toothed woman at the townhouse on Atramental Avenue? She had gathered checks and cash at the close of Yana's speech to the suffragists. Could she also be the same chip-toothed woman Ooze described seeing while stuck in one of Dr. Van Sangfreud's rat traps? The driver continued.
I suppose if you're going to all this trouble, Van Sangfreud must have a really big announcement to make.
Of course I couldn't say, even if I did know.
I'm sure you know. The doctor tells you everything.
Now, Henrietta, don't overinflate my importance. I am but a humble assistant.
A cold rock hit the bottom of Blister's stomach. Mrs. Chettingley was helping the imposter, Dr. Van Sangfreud, sabotage Jana's research.
Careful,
Mrs. Chettingley warned as the driver reached for the trap.
Seems we've caught a horrid mongrel. Yes.
The hound barked and growled and bit the mesh of the cage. The ladies retrieved wood panels plus a hammer and nails from the truck. In no time, they constructed a rough crate around the hound's cage. Blister and Pus held their breath while the ladies plunked the crate and the battery atop several others collected earlier from other homes and businesses. Snorts, chuffs, squawks, and squeaks leaked from the cargo hold above. The front door of a row house swift open, followed by the shift of feet sweeping downstairs.
"Put that trap back," a man barked. "That be property of the Dr. Van Sangfreud Company."
Yes, we are in the employ of Dr. Van Sangfreud.
Mrs. Chettingley intercepted the man at the foot of the stairs.
"You are, eh? Mind telling me why the side of your truck says Braithwaite Securities?"
The vehicle was bought used. Yes. We've been too busy to repaint it.
Henrietta interjected.
I have your paperwork here, Mr. Mallard. It says you pay upon pickup. Here's a new trap and battery. Mind you don't put this near any children.
Yes. That'll be 40 cents.
The man jingled the coins in his trouser pockets as he extracted what was due.
"Amazing how these traps disappear once you put 'em down. Don't suppose you ladies know how they're made, do ya?"
Company secret, Mr. Mallard,
Henrietta replied. The ladies climbed inside the cab of the truck and thunked the doors shut.
"Hang on,"
Mr. Mallard protested.
"Women ain't allowed to drive."
Have a lovely day. Yes.
Mrs. Chettingley warbled as the truck raced away from the neighborhood. The engine's slugging cylinders and sparking pistons could have been inside Blister, for all the churning combustion propelling his mind. Not only was the fiend imposter doctor using Jana's equipment, but also he had corrupted her top assistant. Blister vowed to expose Mrs. Chettingley's duplicity, assuming he could ever track Jana down. A pothole in the gravel road knocked him out of his mental cog-working. He poked his head under the bumper. The truck was speeding up Tenebrous Hill. A realization T-boned Blister. He had seen these second-hand delivery trucks before. He had seen them putter and park at the servants' entry at Jana's junky castle, while he sat in the library connected to the contraption. When he'd asked about them, Jana had said they were simply run-of-the-mill delivery trucks. And maybe some of them were indeed just that. However, Blister was now certain other trucks delivered creatures caught in the Dr. Van Sangfreud traps. If that were true, then it meant the servants who unloaded those creatures from the trucks must also be in on the conspiracy. Everyone Jana knew or employed was against her. Everyone except Blister.
"Where are we going?"
Pus asked.
"No idea,"
Blister fibbed. He knew that once Pus saw the ramshackle castle, he'd advise Putresca to dispatch opeRATives to investigate. All too soon, they would discover the contraption, the trapped animals, and eventually, Jana. Not knowing all Blister knew, they would wrongly accuse her of helping Dr. Van Sangfreud addle all the animals. He could not let that happen.
"Pus,"
Blister said before he was sure what he might do.
"You don't look so good."
Pus said. Blister released his grip on the undercarriage of the truck. Pus caught Blister's tail, but the fall had too much oomph. Pus lost his hold on the truck, and to the road they thudded, rolled, scuffed, and tumbled. By the time either one sat up, the truck was gone. Pus stared at the fork in the road. "Which way did it go? What in the heck is the matter with you, Blister? We finally get past those dadgum cats, and you get a case of the head bubbles."
"I'm sorry,"
Blister lied as he slapped the dust off his scrapes and bruises. "Come on, we better skedaddle back to the caverns. We got big news to share."
"We do?"
"Of course we do." Pus skipped through the field towards the city center. "You heard that lady prattle on about some big meetin' in an abandoned factory. She could churn butter with a flappin' jaw like that." The news of the factory sent Putresca into a frenzy of commands. She canceled all ongoing missions and reassigned the opeRATives to search the textile district. In all, the teams found 6 abandoned factories, which quickly winnowed down to one most likely target. The target had seen better days. Its brick facade was more chipped than a stone quarry. Whatever business name might have been painted there had faded long ago. Weather-warped boards covered the windows. Padlocked chains knotted through the paired pull handles on the front, back, and side entrances. Each door wore the stenciled word, "Condemned." For the moment, all opeRATives clustered in a storm drain across the street, where they observed the building without being seen or trampled. Blister propped his elbows on the metal grate lidded over the spillway. Gazing this way through the curbside slit, he pretended for a moment that he leaned on one of the window casements at the cathedral. "What makes you suspect this building?" Putresca asked when she arrived. Meyer and Yuck stepped forward to answer. Ribbons of smoke curled out from their kinked and crisped fur.
"Etouffee and fricassee! What happened to y'all's fur?"
Pus exclaimed.
"The whole place is wired,"
Meyer said.
"Try getting in and you get zapped."
"Suffice it to say, there's no cracking this nut," Yuck said.
"Now I am seeing why you suspect this factory,"
Putresca said.
Have you inspected the roof?
Horchata asked. Seltzer nodded.
"Factories like this usually have skylights or vent work."
"Be our guest," Yuck said. Seltzer volunteered, insisting Horchata was still recuperating. He returned a short time later with his gray fish feathers puffed, singed, and smoking. Many not-so-nice words dripped out of his beak. At last he admitted,
"That roof is also wired."
Muck conjectured, "The contemptible conduct Dr. Van Sangfreud intends to carry out here must be big. Otherwise, he would not have employed such severe security measures."
"Deft deductions,"
Blister whispered to Muck, who grinned. Blister added another point to his scorecard against the Furbanks family in Europe.
"We will have to be keeping watch around the clock,"
Putresca determined. She settled which teams would take the first watch and which would go back to the caverns until it was time to swap. Both Muck and Blister sagged when their teams were put on opposite shifts. Blister told himself the disappointment he was feeling came from having to watch the factory instead of perpetually dampening Muck's yearnings to travel across the Atlantic and reunite with his family. Although Muck knew from Putresca's inquiries with the European liberators that his family was alive, he had no clue their telegram summoning him overseas currently nested in a candle box in the bell tower. As soon as Blister was certain Muck would remain in Black Rust, he would definitely hand over the message. However, spying on the factory left him no time to sway Muck's choices.
Be sure you get a sated slumber before returning,
Muck said while cradling his tail.
A teeming torpor, a heavy hibernation.
Later, when Blister, Pus, and the opeRATives arrived at the factory, they found a pack of bleary-eyed rats more than ready for a rapacious repose. Muck was the only one with anything like a spring in his step. Despite the exhaustion that pinked and puffed around the edges of his eyes, he waved feverishly at Blister, then stood at attention and saluted, which was not something opeRATives were required or expected to do.
"Operative Blister!"
Muck declared in his deepest, most authoritative voice.
Operative Muck.
Blister straightened his spine, puffed out his chest, and saluted back. He was most certainly not caught up in any excitement. Instead, he told himself he was playing along to satisfy Muck's whims. The scoreboard shifted. Europe held at 10 points. Blister gained 5 or 6. Crud debriefed Pus on the patrol schedule and sentry points that afforded the clearest views of the entrances. "Y'all better get some sleep," Pus said. "Your next shift'll be here before you can say dung in the gutter." All of Crud's team departed, minus Muck.
Don't get left behind,
Blister urged him.
I have procured permission to stay,
Muck said.
You're gonna work back-to-back shifts?
Blister blinked.
Muck, let me give you a tip about new jobs. If you work too hard, no one will like you.
I appreciate your admonitory alert, but I am not exercising exertion for the profit of promotion. I am surreptitiously synchronizing our reconnaissance rosters.
You mean you stayed so we could work together?
Muck nodded and bounced on his heels. Just then, the sun pierced through the cream cheese smear of late-day clouds and shined so bright, all the opeRATives shielded their paws over their eyes. What do you suppose is hidden inside that condemned factory? It must be important for someone to have installed a security system. Let's just hope it's not an orange juice factory, or else we'll have to concentrate. Normally, this is when I tell you fantastic listeners to tune in next week to find out if the opeRATives' surveillance yields satisfactory results. However, Season 3 of this podcast is not always going to run on a weekly schedule. I'll certainly aim for weekly, although there may be times when the hiatus between episodes stretches longer than 7 days. If hiatus is a new word for you, it means a pause or an interruption. I have definitely been interrupted while trying to produce this third and final season. Luckily, those pauses were the result of some really exciting creative projects. I was asked to write a book about robots and how young people can form their very own robot-building clubs. I was also asked to write another book all about UFOs and what science can tell us about what they are and where they really come from. At the same time, I found out that a short story I wrote many years ago has been included in a children's picture book called The Sunshine Squad. From cover to cover, this book packs in hope and inspiration for the kids and their families working so hard to survive in a really tough post-pandemic world. The Sunshine Squad releases October 19th. Stop by blisterandmuck.com to find out where you can pre-order the book or Enter yourself in a drawing to win your very own free copy by subscribing to the podcast at blisterandmuck.com. I put the website through a massive redesign this year, so if you're viewing the site on a phone, swipe up and look for the big subscribe bubble. Enter your email in the bubble and tap Sign Up. I'm about to have many more books to write, which is another reason why I'm sporadically releasing episodes. To learn more about all these books and how you can get them on your bookshelves, visit my author website at jennymason.com. That's JYNNEMASON.com. Blister and Muck is 100% listener supported. That means listeners like you keep this show on the air and ad-free. You support this show every time you tell your friends to tune in, and donations made to the show cover the costs of sound effects, music, web hosting, and more. You can also support the show when you purchase nudity prevention apparel from the Blister and Muck gift shop. Of course, if humans had fur or shells, we wouldn't need clothes. Sadly, we are body-bald animals, so we need clothes to keep warm, dry, and good-looking. Annihilate your nudity and look more like a real animal with a Blister and Muck t-shirt, hat, or face mask. Simply tap Support the Show at blisterandmuck.com. A portion of every purchase helps keep this show running, and I enclose a special surprise with every order. Special thanks to Roland Rudzitis for serving up the Blister and Muck theme song. Additional music from Kevin MacLeod and Mon Plaisir. Clank Build and Toilet Roll Tube provided the traffic noise. Sound Ideas and Yeo at Pond 5 produced the horse, carriage, and Ooga horn sounds. Daniel Simon blew the police whistle and started the old car. Cat screams, cat fights, and howling cats came from K9, E.B. Crosby, and Orlab. All other sounds were public domain. I always reserve extra special thanks for my family, friends, and fans. One for one, and all for you.